Okay, today we're going on the road. And so if you're taking a trip, if you're on a bus, if you're on a train, if you're going to visit your friends someplace else, it doesn't mean that you have to quit doing your artwork. And that's where the sketchbook comes in as a really essential tool to keep on doing your work when you're on the road. Sketchbooks are also really good for working out your ideas. Nobody ever has to look at the sketchbook, so if you do a really bad drawing, sometimes that's good, you've gotten out of your system, or it helps you develop an idea. You may not know exactly what it is that you want to draw, or you have an idea about something and not quite done with it. This is like your planner. This is something like a rough draft sometimes. Sometimes you do great drawings, but be that as it may, sketchbook is a great thing to have. And so I have a tendency to like smaller sketchbooks. And I can open up a couple pages here. You can see that sometimes they're very brief. Do a little kind of fast little impression of a landscape. I started developing a notion of some animals here. Maybe you find something on your trip that you could paste in like a scrapbook. Here's some more. So you get the idea that it could be a combination of writing, drawing. I've never drawn a raccoon before, so I thought, oh, how do you draw a raccoon? I worked it out. This is a little larger one, and it's a similar thing where I've got pages full of little studies, little ways. My son Axel even got in my sketchbook and gave me a little guest artist thing there. So what I have a tendency to do is like getting sketchbooks that are a portable size. I have friends of mine that love taking out big sketchbooks and everything, but for me, if it's something that'll fit in my pocket or very conveniently put in a little bag or something like that, it works out best. And I also like the ones that are a little bit durable, because I really travel a lot, and they get kind of banged up and get a lot of use. So if you get one that's a little substantial, then that works great. Now, normally, if I'm drawing, I can have my pencils, and I've got all my equipment that it'll take for me to draw with, but when I'm on the road, I don't want to have to worry about a box of pencils falling out at the airport or whatever. And so what I have a tendency to do is use these watercolor pencils. And I take pieces of paper and I cut them up. This is a Bristol paper. It's a little heavier and it's smooth. And it's very simple, kind of obvious. I pick out my favorite colors and I really press down hard. That's why I use this Bristol, because it has a nice hard surface and you can really layer that. So let's get, I like using red, I like using green. So any color that you think that you might be using, go ahead and put down on your card. So now what I'm going to do is have those as my palette, and you'll see how that works in just a minute. So let's say that I'm deciding, I've been kind of doing pigs as a theme lately, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on a pig here. Give him a smile. Most of my characters usually look like they're pretty happy. All right, so there's his head, and maybe let's say that I usually draw characters that way, and sometimes I use my sketchbook to see what happens if I make them face the other direction. And it's more of a challenge for me to do that, because I can almost do that automatic, and this one I have to think a little bit more, and so I may be a bit more aware of the shapes that I'm doing. So we'll go with this one. And what's he doing? Let's say that he is walking and drinking a glass of water. Or maybe we could have him sit. Let's have him sit at a table here. Came in from playing. He's thirsty. So he's taking a chance. All right, so I've got this pig, I got that pig, I can keep on drawing. Sometimes I like the idea of just making shapes and see, this is kind of a snaky shape, and I can put one across here like that, a couple of them like that. So once I get to a point where maybe I have some interesting things to develop, if I don't like that, I can go to another page and start working again. I got lots of pages, it's a brand new scrapbook, sketchbook, but let's say, okay, I want to see what he looks like with color. I've got a travel brush. Doesn't look like much. It's really easy to put in my pocket. You can tape it or whatever. But when I push that, then I got a brush that comes out. And this is where the magic comes. And this is where my palette works out. Arrange things. And so instead of taking the whole box of pencils with me, I have a bunch of these cards stuck in there. I'll bring them out. And now I'm going to use them like watercolor. These are watercolor pencils, and they've been made so that Let's make him kind of a orangish color. I'm going to put just a little more on there. And so now I'm picking up the pigment that used to be on that card. And now I can start coloring in and experimenting with the color. Okay, so he's looking good. Let's see what would happen if maybe this guy hasn't been feeling so well, so he's going to be a green pig. All right, the other guy is kind of dry enough. I'll mix these two colors a little bit, get a little shading there. All right, he's looking pretty sporty there. Now, instead of just having a blank page, what I can do is, let's see what would happen if maybe he was surrounded by kind of this nice, maybe we'll just like do a little kind of shadowing thing. All right. So this way now, I don't mind waiting. If I'm at the airport and I have to wait for my plane to take off and it's delayed, I have lots to do. I've got my pencil to draw with, my sketchbook. I've got all these great colors from my watercolor pencils. Let's add just a little more. Okay. A green pig in a red room. Okay, so now with the sketchbook, working the sketchbook and having your portable watercolor palette, you can go anywhere. You can make great art and develop great ideas.